You got it? Okay.
All
So
right,
you're
got it.
recording already.
All
Okay.
right, good to go.
Awesome. So welcome to Looking Up today. My name is Renee, and I'm very excited today to have special guest Michael Gumley. We're going to be discussing AI and the use of teaching and also SEO and website marketing. So welcome, Michael. Thank you so much for coming this early this morning for you.
No, I'm glad to be on the podcast. I'm glad we finally got to make it happen after a couple of weeks of hectic schedules. And yes, it's 6 a.m. here, but as I just said before we went live, it's my tranquil hour. I'm the only one up. I can get anything done I need to, and this seems to be the best time to do podcasts.
That's wonderful. I love early morning productivity. I find that I get the most done then as well. So, Michael, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, like what projects you're working on? I know you mentioned you're involved with the podcast and you have a guitar teaching website.
Yeah, so I've got my fingers in a lot of pies. I'm definitely a big believer of multiple streams of revenue. And if anyone wants a book recommendation, check out Multiple Streams of Income or Multiple Streams of Revenue. I'm pretty sure it's called Multiple Streams of Income by Robert G. Allen. I believe it's from the late 80s or the early 90s, but it's a very big eye-opening book for me and definitely something that should be on any business owner and or entrepreneur's reading list. I primarily am a guitar teacher. I own Melbourne Guitar Academy, which is a really big school here in Australia. We've got 350 students or so between two studio locations, and I do fairly well. And what I did during the pandemic is, and my city of Melbourne was the most locked down city out of every city in the entire world, unfortunately. So in the 2.5 years that we were locked down on and off, I basically had to switch to online learning because we couldn't teach in our physical school. And what I
Mhm.
noticed was there were so many business gurus. I've actually broken my finger, so I went to do air quotes then, and it didn't work. But there were so many gurus who would just message me saying, "Hey, learn how to run this business." And they were trying to sell me this online course, and they themselves had literally, in the first week of lockdown, taken a course on how to make money, which says, "Go launch this channel, go make this thing, and then try and sell it, using direct outreach on Facebook." And while there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that, and while you don't always necessarily be the world's authority on something to help people, there was a lot of people who were just like had made something up the week before, weren't qualified to give the advice that they were trying to give, and didn't really have any experience trying to
Mhm.
coach other people or train other people. And as I said, like, you have to look at it on a case by case basis. Just by knowing a little bit more than someone, you can help them, and you don't have to have decades of experience. And in fact, as long as you can help somebody, the experience, sometimes you got to fake it before you make it. But getting
Right.
3 or 4 messages a day from 3 or 4 different people who'd all done the same course pitching me, and I was just asking them, "Hey, what's the most significant thing you've done?" And they wouldn't even tell you because it was nothing. And I'm like, I kind of got agitated and said, "Look, I've got this big business. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm way more qualified than you." So out of sort of anger, I kind of like just launched my 6-figure coach, just say, "Hey guys, I used to make $100,000 teaching guitar out of the spare bedroom in my house. I scaled that to earning over $200,000 US, which was about 250,000 Australian, before I ever got a
Mhm.
commercial location or uh, hired any other people. Maybe I'm a bit more qualified to give advice than you are." So I just
Yeah.
launched my program.
Amazing.
I did that about 13 months ago. I've coached over 6 people to the 6-figure point, 100% success rate for everyone that's ever done the course for the full 12 months, which is really, really cool. And that's sort of where I coach people on the business side of things. And I think one thing that allowed me to grow my business very quickly and to run such a successful operation at Melbourne Guitar Academy was actually organizing myself. And I think your podcast audience is musicians and music school owners and people. Musicians are traditionally very unorganized people who don't really want anything to do with money because they're arty, they're creative. It's all about the music. But there's also this stigma or reputation of them being low. Every other area of their life is chaos, or they're low achievers or disorganized. So just, and I'll say this all the time, musicians will spend 10,000 hours mastering their instruments. Music teachers will spend 10,000 hours mastering their instrument and another 10,000 hours becoming a great teacher over multiple decades. It's like twice as hard as becoming a rocket scientist. It's like as hard as being a rocket scientist and a brain surgeon rolled into one for the two
Yeah.
lowest paying, least respectable occupations in the world. So it's
Yeah.
not that it's hard to do, but they put all these efforts in these other areas, but they don't spend $20 on a self-help book or a personal finance management book and spend a weekend reading it. So it's not that hard to get to the top 10% of musicians just by being a little bit more organized. So I've got my six-figure guitar teacher program. I license my curriculum, Guitar Ninjas, to music schools all around the world and guitar teachers who want a done-for-you curriculum. And I also coach people through Top Music, where it's a bit more, rather than business coaching, it's more how do you become a better teacher and the teaching craft. So I've got a few projects on fly, and I'm sure we can link people to those a bit later.
Wow, that is remarkable. And by the way, I mean, 100% success for your students, that is really incredible. So congratulations on that. Um, that is really cool. So what inspired you to get started with getting into guitar teaching? And then obviously you mentioned a little bit about the pandemic and getting into creating this course, but what was kind of your journey to becoming to starting Melbourne Guitar Academy?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to when I first started playing guitar. Now, I didn't start guitar until about 3 weeks before my 15th birthday. It all came together at the same time. Like, I really love music. You know, when you're like 13, 14, and music just becomes part of who you are. And I was going through this
Absolutely.
journey of self-discovery. And, I think my family was on a holiday, and we were driving from the middle of outback Australia back to one of the cities over in Perth, and this song Dreams by Van Halen come on. And I first got exposed to that when I was like 4 or 5, when the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers came out, and it's been my favorite song ever since. And I would say I probably hadn't heard it for a good couple of years, and it came on, my dad cranked it, and I had it just stuck in my head for the next 3 days in the guitar solo. And it was just eating away at me. I was thinking, maybe I actually, rather than listen to music, I want to actually do it. And
Yeah.
within a week of each other, and that was probably like March, and come July, my cousin Darcy, he got a guitar for his birthday. Now, his birthday was in February, but his dad got a super cheap deal, which involved, waiting 6 months for a guitar to come from overseas. And it finally arrived. So we had this impromptu birthday party, and to celebrate the fact that his guitar finally arrived. And he showed me a few things, and I was just like absolutely smitten. I spent the rest of the night playing his guitar at his birthday party, and that's all I wanted to do. And then round about the same time, I really did not like music class at school. I absolutely hated it because I'm like 6'1". In year 7 and 8, I was still 6'1", and we had to sit in those little chairs where the desk and the chair
Oh
is the
yeah.
same thing. So I didn't fit in it. We had like a classroom teacher who was just, you have to read sight music, you have to learn these old classical pieces. And it was really boring. It was the last 2 hours on a Friday afternoon. The last thing I wanted to do was sit and read music. But then in year 9, we got to switch instrument, and I'd literally already done my preferences for not music. And I was like, yeah, man, never have to do this again. And then year 9, they're like, oh, you get to pick between guitar, piano, drums, or singing. And I'm like, hang on. So I did guitar, and I literally played the first note, and it was like getting hit by lightning. So long story short, went from hating music to playing guitar 6 hours a day. And I said to my teacher, I want to do this for the rest of my life. How do I do it? And I was told, audition, get into uni, do your music degree, transfer to a education degree, and then become a classroom teacher. That way you'll have a stable income. You'll have to work 40 hours a week at a school teaching music, but hopefully you'll be able to make it, and your band will take off, and then you can make that the main thing. Now, I was doing that path for a couple of years, and I was in my final year of my music degree, about to transfer into a Master's of Education. So about halfway through my degree, they changed the qualification here in Australia. You used to have to do a
Oh
one-year
no.
graduate diploma in
Mm-hmm.
education. You just tag that on, you can teach in a school. Then they
Mm-hmm.
made that a 2-year master degree. So it went from like a part-time study load, like a $5,000 course, to an extra $30,000 and 2 years of study. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then
Yeah.
just serendipitously, I'd had a lesson with the head of guitar at my university. who I had him for classes here and there, but my teacher was away one day and he had a spare block. So I just got a random phone call saying, "Hey, Michael, your teacher's sick, but rather than miss out, have a lesson with me." And I was just chatting with him, and he told me this story about getting to open for Mike Stern. So some of our listeners might know Mike Stern as one of the top 5 jazz fusion guitar players of all time. He played in the Miles Davis band for a number of years and is an absolutely phenomenal guitar player. And he played this gig in Australia at our biggest, whatever our equivalent of the Apollo Theater is, or what's that one in Texas that everyone wants to play, or New York, Carnegie Hall.
Yes, Carnegie Hall here in New York. Yeah.
Yeah. So he opened, Melbourne's equivalent of Carnegie Hall, and my teacher was the opening act. At the end of the show, Mike Stern invited him and his guitar duo partner to open the next 2 shows, the last 2 shows in Sydney and Brisbane. And at the end of the Brisbane show, he pulled him aside and he said, "Don't go anywhere after your set." And at the end of the day, he goes, "Well, I've spoken to the label and we want to get you guys on the next 40 dates of our US tour. Tour starts in like 20 days or something. We want you to open for us. I understand that's not long enough to make an album, but at the end of that, we're going to cut an album in the studio and all this kind of stuff." And yeah, you can imagine that's like scoring the touchdown in the Super Bowl after the siren for the musical equivalent of the coolest thing that could ever happen. The dream has come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were ecstatic. And long story short, once again, when he told his wife, she full on flipped out because of her insecurities about, well, who's going to pay for the kids? Who's going to support me? If you do this, you're going to be overseas for 2 months. You're going to lose your job. And she convinced him that he couldn't do it. And he had to say no to the once in a lifetime opportunity because he didn't have his finances sorted. He wasn't organized. He didn't have any money in the bank. And that's when it like really dawned on me that I'm putting myself in a very vulnerable position where music is my number one thing. All I want to do is go out and play guitar and be a successful music and a rock star. But if I'm working a 9 to 5 for someone else, that's a set of handcuffs, which, I'm stuck in. And I don't want to get this once in a lifetime opportunity and then have to say no because I didn't have the money to cover it, or I was stuck. I traded my freedom for security, so to speak. So I knew then and there that I couldn't go into this university model. And the other thing was, at that point, I'd built my business up to earning about $50,000 Australian a year. So I was studying part-time and I was working part-time. In Australia, a entry-level teacher makes about $60,000 a year. So I'm like, I've already spent $30,000 on my first degree. I'm about to spend another $30,000 on this master's degree, only so I can make an extra $10,000 than what I'm currently making, but I'll have to work 40 hours a week plus corrections and be in a classroom of 30 people where only 3 to 10 of them actually want to be there.
True. Yeah.
This doesn't seem to make sense for me. So I withdrew from that course, and the rest is history. I went on to make 6 figures in my own business within 12 months once I actually committed to it, and grew my business, made a really successful school. And I'm now coaching other music teachers, whether they're guitar teachers. It's called the 6-figure guitar teacher, of course. And it works really great with guitar, but these skills are universally applicable to almost any kind of musician or music teacher or service-based business.
Wow, that is a remarkable, that's a fascinating story. Thank you so much for sharing your background on that. Thank you. So I wanted to transition a little bit into talking about AI, but I have a lot of questions now after your introduction. That is really, really cool.
Well, I've got all the time in the world, so if we need to go over time, I'm not too fussed, and you might get 2 episodes in one out of this.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking. I can kind of see like 2 different directions here. So, as a music teacher myself, I also teach guitar and piano and songwriting. Songwriting is something that's very near and dear to me. But so I kind of had a similar sort of feeling with teaching. I wanted the freedom to tour and to take on opportunities if they presented themselves. So I completely understand a lot of the decision making into starting your own studio, and then also now coaching other musicians. I think that is very much needed, because I think, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of musicians just learn so much about their instrument, about music, about the history, but how to market yourself and how to actually make a living at it and to advocate for yourself, to set boundaries, all that stuff that's needed as a business person is like something you kind of have to figure out on your own. So the fact that you are helping people sort of carve their own path is very needed in in this career path. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And just to add on what you said there, what I realized is that most of my university teachers, all of them were fantastic musicians, but like 70% of them had done the university course and within a year or two been brought on by the same university, gone, oh, these are the gun players, let's bring him back and offer him a position. So none of them really had done extensive touring experience. And it's definitely different in Australia. I can almost say like the caliber of the musician is a little bit lower for the, the general population, because being a musician in Australia isn't a respectable position. It doesn't have the same weight. Like we see the American college movies and even in real life where the musicians have their part in, they're not the athletes, but they're still part of the ceremony and contribute. Whereas we just don't have that same culture here in Australia. And we don't have the same level of gigs or the population to support as much live music. So most Aussies who want to make it have to travel to the US or to England and other places where, there's better opportunities. But none of the teachers at the universities ever made it. None of them had amazingly successful music careers. They're just all academics, and they don't know how to have amazing music careers. Otherwise they would be out having amazing music careers rather than teaching and doing gigs after hours wherever they can fit them in. So yeah, some of them have the TV show gigs, some of them have these kind of cool studio jobs, but none of them are really the rock stars that the average person is aspiring to.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, the background here on that is, you start out kind of do it yourself here, creating your own tours and kind of like filling in the dates and stuff. But yeah, there definitely is a lot of challenges with even pursuing that career. But yeah, I mean, so I know a lot of touring musicians kind of balance the teaching and the touring. So on that teaching note, talking about, one of the things I keep hearing about, and I've not yet incorporated it in my own studio, is the use of AI and how it can like make our lives as educators a little bit easier. I mean, I know that like the basics of Chat GPT. Do you want to talk to us like how do you use it in your own teaching and career? And if so, like how do you utilize it?
Yeah, so there's a number of different uses for AI. And I think I saw this like meme the other day. It's saying there's not going to be a difference between humans and AI, but there'll be a difference between humans who use AI and humans who don't. And, we're right on the edge of this cliff here going, well, what's going to happen? But the reality is AI is here to stay. And there are so many amazing tools that can literally amplify what you can do. And yes, you got to experiment with it. Yes, you got to become familiar with it. But one thing I noticed during the pandemic is that so many older music teachers were just like, I can't teach in person and I don't want anything to do with this technology. Therefore, they wave the white flag, they surrender, they just went out of business because they weren't willing to adapt. We're now at the point where AI is the next biggest disruption and it's here to stay. So if you don't incorporate it into what you're doing, all the other teachers who are literally going to come in and totally roll you. Now, yes, there's going to be a place for offline teachers and people who aren't using AI, but like 100 years from now, maybe not even 100, like 20 years from now, the landscape is going to look so different. And we'll see it as one of those kind of like extinction events where the car replaced the horse, things like that. So you don't want to be a horse salesman, music teacher in a world of cars or things like that. So there's just so many uses. And to give you an example, like last night, I watched a 20-minute video on YouTube because my video editor just dropped off. So I don't have a video editor, but I need a video editor. So what I did was I went to YouTube and I typed in how to use AI to edit videos and watched a 15-minute video on how to make, it was called How to Make 100 Shorts in 10 Minutes. And it was a bit of a clickbait because it took me about 20 minutes, but I was able to make 30 YouTube shorts in 10 minutes.
Wow, that is pretty cool.
And they look great. They look like all the stuff you'd see when you're just scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. So
Mhm.
now I have acquired a skill where I can use AI to pretty much make automated video content for YouTube Shorts. And what would have taken me an hour to figure out on myself to a basic level, I now, with an hour, have 30 videos plus a template set up ready to go and all this crazy stuff. So what AI does is it allows you to amplify what you do. It allows you to uh, increase the speed at which you can put stuff out. But most importantly, the collective intelligence of the machine, whether it's ChatGPT or a bunch of different AIs, because there's some really popular ones and there's some absolute niche ones. But if you don't know how to write great advertising copy, you no
Mhm.
longer have to go out and spend $3,000 on a marketing agency. You can literally get ChatGPT to do that for you. And anything you don't know, anything you can't do, rather than spend 12 months learning it, practicing it, whatever that happens to be, you can now just bridge that gap using AI. And that AI is getting smarter and smarter and smarter to the point where maybe Dan S. Kennedy, or there's a bunch of different marketers. But if you can take this advertisement, you can ask ChatGPT, hey, write me an ad for prospective guitar students or piano students using direct marketing style, which is a particular brand of advertising. And it will write you something, and you can say, please rewrite this to sound like Dan Kennedy, or please rewrite this to sound like whatever. And we can circle back to this a bit later, because there's some really powerful things and really scary things you can do. And we'll get back to that when we do the SEO thing a bit later. But yeah, as a general overview, AI can do so much stuff. And if you're a disorganized musician, just asking ChatGPT to create a lesson plan for you is going to be really, really great. And that's something which, again, rather than you spend 45 minutes to 60 minutes doing it, you can just ask ChatGPT to do it for you, and it's going to spit something out in 5 minutes. It's super handy. So my approach to AI is just identify what don't you like, where do you have deficits, what can't you do, and then find an AI that can do it for you, or get ChatGPT to cover those skills where you have deficits. And the bare minimum, you're saving hours and hours each week. The upside is you can totally replace yourself with automation. And if you have a team like social media, for example, you can just spend 1 hour a week getting ChatGPT to plan everything out for you, and then give that plan to your content manager and still hire someone else. So even when you're not necessarily replacing people, you are really optimizing your output.
Right, that is my understanding of it. And in a lot of the music teachers that I work with are kind of doing everything themselves. So like that, just saving an hour here, an hour there is like really critical when you're wearing many hats as a business owner. So I'm completely on board with learning how to use it and to start incorporating it, because I can see like exactly as you said, like where your personal deficits are, and like how you can just be more efficient at creating content, like for shorts or marketing and stuff like that. So that's really cool. And do you use any AI for music creation or in your lessons?
I haven't dived into that specifically, because I kind of have like a really structured method in
Okay.
terms of actually, well, I'll circle back to that, because indirectly, yes, I do. So
Okay.
I because I have such a structured method with my Guitar Ninjas curriculum, I haven't yet started using AI in my lessons, but I'm in that experimental exploratory phase. So there's a few things that I'm trying out. And again, I've been teaching for 18 years. So I've been playing guitar for 18 years. I've been formally teaching for 15, informally for the whole 18, because as soon as I could play, I was showing my friends and family how to do things. So without being boastful, I am quite an experienced teacher, and I haven't yet had the need to start using AI, because I already have so much infrastructure and things that I've created. However, there's a really good AI. It's called Moises, so MOISES.ai. And what that does is you drop an MP3 file into it,
Oh wow.
and it takes the tracks and it splits them, and makes backing tracks. So it will literally take it, it will give you a mixer desk and say, here are all the tracks, and you can mute them. You can, so if I want to make a backing track for my concert, so I did this probably around December last year for our big end of year school concert. Normally I have 3 weeks of making backing tracks, and it's the biggest time sink ever. I've got to find a track, I've got to record things or do some research or pay $50 to get all these MP3s. All I did was go to YouTube, find the song that I needed, get the MP3, put it in this Moises app that separated it. And if I was preparing backing tracks for singers, I just took the vocals out of it. If I was preparing backing tracks for guitar players, I just took the guitar track out of it. So our students were playing along with whoever the singer was. So if there's a Guns N' Roses cover, we had Axl Rose playing. I took Slash's guitar out of it, and the guitar players could, it sounded like the actual song, and all they had to do was provide the guitar. So, and that was perfect. And yeah, maybe it took me 2 hours to do 30 tracks, but that was way better than 3 weeks to do 30 tracks. So in terms of that, that's been really handy. And on the day-to-day, so I have a big emphasis on keeping my finger on the pulse of what's popular right now with my students. So for example, if today we're working on, we've been doing Sunroof at the moment. I'm not sure if that song is popular where you are. I got my head out the sunroof.
Yes, it is.
I will just put that on, and in real time, like literally I'll load the MP3. I will use this Moises app and just take the guitar out of it straight away, or give them a playthrough with it, then take it out and just, you know, pause, stop. All right, oh guys, this is pretty hard in this key. Let's transcribe it to the key of E minor so we can play it without a capo. And then it lets you shift the pitch or change the tempo. And for the younger students, just being able to put on a riff without taking anything out of it. I mean, we can isolate it so that you only hear the guitar. That's the other thing, is it makes it really easy to transcribe things, because we got rid of everything except the guitar. And then we slowed it down to 50% or 25% while keeping the same pitch. So now we can figure things out by ear. So yeah, Moises.ai. I don't have a referral link, but I think it's something like $3 a month. And if you pay for the whole year, it's even cheaper. And you know, for less than the price of a cup of coffee for the whole month, you can get this tool, which literally like does wonders. So was it worth $3 US, so about $4.50 Australian, to save myself 20 days of work? Yes.
I'd say so, yes. It sounds like an incredibly helpful tool. That's cool, because I mean, a lot of times like you'll find like the karaoke versions, which are not exactly the same tracks, I'm guessing due to copyright and stuff on YouTube. So, but that sounds, I can see myself definitely implementing that in my teaching. So thank you, that's awesome.
No worries at all. And a little tidbit here, and this is purely from my research last night. Let me just bring up a website for you. So there's a website called there'sanaIforthat.com.
There's an AI for that? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's called there'sanaIforthat.com. And you literally just type in what you want to do. So if you want, there's one which literally you put in a video of you playing guitar, and it transcribes it and makes it into guitar tabs. So if you're doing like again, a YouTube video or a YouTube short and you're just playing along, then the guitar, and it gives you like a little image or a video file, like a karaoke kind of thing. So if you're a guitar teacher or you're doing YouTube videos, that's an amazingly powerful tool for you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And especially even like for a lot of my students who like write their own music, and they're not quite yet maybe sure how to write it out so that they can remember it. I always encourage my students to like record it and stuff, but that is super helpful. That will definitely save a lot of time and help students to capture their ideas better. Very nice.
Yeah. So. And just the other thing is, like, you know, we are music teachers and we're using AI, but one thing I tell my coaching clients, so for example, if you get to that 6-figure milestone, you start making a decision about, well, do I hire another guitar teacher to help me teach more students or work less hours? What I normally say, the first person you should hire in your business is a personal chef, a cleaner, or a gardener. So if you're making money through your business, you should be focusing on how do I do more of the making money and less of the low quality activities? And, why waste time? If you can make $100 an hour teaching guitar or more, whatever it happens to be, if a gardener works for $30 an hour, $50 an hour, anything less than what you can earn teaching guitar, then you just hire a gardener to do the chores. And rather than do the chores, you teach guitar or whatever activity it is. So if you don't like cooking, or this one makes all the guys happy, and not to rag on all the gender norms and that, but if the male is the breadwinner and the female, if in their relationship they've agreed that she's going to be the stay-at-home mum and look after the kids and cook, fellas, wouldn't it be better, and wouldn't your wife be happier if as you're making all the money and she's at home doing all the hard housework, you use some of that money to replace some of her chores, not just your chores, and get the cleaner and get the cook or whatever it happens to be. So that's one thing that I normally put forward is, what are all the day-to-day things which you don't consider are a waste of your time or could be better allocated to your business or whatever it happens to be. Start paying for those things so that you can spend more time making money. So how can you automate some of these household tasks with AI? So, hey, can I get AI to create a study schedule for my kids? Can I get AI to write the shopping list? Can AI suggest the 6 meals we're going to have this week and what ingredients we need to buy? So can we make a cleaning roster for everyone's chores? There's so many of these little things which you can just whack into ChatGPT and have it take care of for you.
Wow, yeah. I mean, as someone who kind of does all that myself, except the gardening. I live in Brooklyn. There's no garden. There's no garden that I'm tending to. But yeah, I mean, I can see, the logic in, every time I clean every week, it's like, these are many hours I spend because I'm a very meticulous cleaner. Like that, yeah, maybe it would be better spent if I were focusing on the business and not just like keeping up with household chores and stuff like that. So that is really a great advice. Cool. And any other platforms that you've tried besides ChatGPT and Moises.ai?
Yeah, so there's some really cool ones. So ChatGPT is just like, the essential. It's the big one. Google Bard, I literally just jumped on last night. So ChatGPT, what most people don't realize is it's only trained up to a certain point in time. So yes, ChatGPT is still stuck in 2021. So if you ask it questions about today, there's certain things which it doesn't know about, or it literally just speculates on, whereas the Google one has access to the internet. So Google Bard, although it doesn't have the same, it is much newer to the market, it can at least Google things and verify. So often I will pair it, well, not often, as of last night, literally, anything I create with ChatGPT that has factual information, I will run through Bard and say, hey, can you just verify that this is correct and make any suggested amendments? So the one-two wham bam combo of ChatGPT and Google Bard is a great combination there.
Cool.
For content creators, there's another one called Opus. So if you type in Opus Video, what it does is we can take this podcast. And the reason why I asked you if I could record this is because I can drop the video of this. I can upload this to YouTube just unlisted, so it doesn't infringe on what you're doing. But then I can take that link and add it into this AI called Opus, and that's going to chop that up and make video shorts. So are you familiar with Alex Hormozy?
No, I don't think so.
So Alex Hormozy is this marketer. He's going to be like the next big guru, so kind of like a Grant Cardone or a Carrie V or a Tony Robbins. Okay. Not so much the self-help of Tony Robbins, but he's going to be the next big business coach. He's gone from 200,000 subscribers to 1.2 million in the last 12 months. And he's I don't know when this podcast is coming out. Alex Hormozy. Once we're off air, I will tell you everything about him. But
cool.
He's the kind of guy that, the emoji pops up and the text underneath that matches what you're doing. He kind of pioneered that. And he's got probably the most copied style, which everyone else is doing. And this AI literally creates videos in the style of him, because that's what's trending at the moment. So again, last night I was able to take as an experiment, one of my most popular guitar video for my YouTube channel. So last year I more formally launched a YouTube channel as well. It's just my name, Michael Gumley. You can find it at Michael Gumley. And it's literally, I'd been trying to do videos for music teachers. So say, hey, here's how you become a better teacher or make more money. It was to tie in with my six-figure guitar teacher, and I was getting no traction. I thought, okay, I'll just post a guitar video, and it got like 5,000 views on the first video. I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. I'll do another guitar video. Video number 5 went viral and got like 60,000 views in the first month. It just went crazy. So I was like, oh, this guitar audience might be something. But anyway, to circle back, I haven't been on YouTube for a while, but I was doing some research about AI, and this Opus AI came up, and literally all I did was take my best video, I dropped it in, and it spliced it up into about 13 clips. It said, we recommend these clips. It cut them into shorts. It zoomed in. It did, it spliced some stock images in there as well. It suggested an audio track. It did all these really, really cool things. It put the subtitles, and then it gave each of them a score. So it said, this one's number 1 because of these reasons. This one's number 13. And so will I use all 13? Don't know, maybe not, but at least the top like 5, it recommends that I do. So what I'm going to do with this video is run that through this AI, and it's going to cut it up into shorts for me and then run the short form content. And that's what a lot of the popular channels are doing, is they'll have their main video for the people who want to watch the 15-minute or the 3-hour-long podcast, and then they'll chop up the main clips. And yeah, you can have a video editor, like, you know, if it's a 3-hour-long video, you've got to pay them 3 hours just to watch all the content and then chop it up. So a good video could be a 10-hour process. But once they've chopped it up, then they've got to decide, you know, what are all the shorts and what are we going to do here? This AI just does it all for you. So again, I think you can get like your first 30 days free or something like that, or it might be 2 hours per month or something like that. So yeah, I think you get 2 hours per month free. And the rest is you can, you know, pay to upgrade or get 2,000 hours a month for something like $10 or something. So like amazingly affordable. So you can go from, you know, the price of 1 hour's work or 2 hours work, you can now get 2,000 hours worth of videos cut up and done for you. So crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, that is an outstanding resource, because I mean, yeah, again, if you're like editing and deciding all this on your own, that would take many, many hours to like get to that point of creating 13, even shorts. So that is, thank you so much for sharing that resource. That sounds like an invaluable tool.
100%. What else do I have? There's another really cool one called Parrot.ai. So, and this is another good one for the podcast. So you can load a video or an MP3. So if you record a meeting, you can drop an MP3 in there and it will just transcribe it for you.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I mean, how helpful is that? I see how this is all going to be very much making everyone productive, but also like, yeah, like you were saying, like the people who are not using AI, they're going to just be working at a much slower pace. And yeah, I can see right now, just from the few examples that you've described, how it's going to be essential to like jump on board with a lot of these. So that's awesome. Because you want to walk us through like a prompt that you've done recently?
Yeah, so with ChatGPT, the prompting is the key. And for those of you who don't know what a prompt is, it's basically if you ask ChatGPT or AI something, that's the prompt. So if you say, write me 10 ideas for social media posts, or write me 7 tweets that I can put out this week. So that's just going to generate 7 tweets. And if you do it and I do it with the same prompt, we're probably going to get the same, if not a similar answer. So that's somewhat limiting. And if you're trying to put out tweets, people are going to see similar things over and over. And we'll get to SEO soon. But if you say, haha, hey, ChatGPT, write me an article, and you put that article on your blog, Google can tell if an AI has written it, and Google will know if 10 people post the exact same article or similar. So this is what most people do. They go, oh, cool, ChatGPT is going to create this amazing opportunity for me. ChatGPT, please suggest me 10 topics for guitar articles, or suggest me 10 YouTube video ideas. Yeah, we'll go with that one. So ChatGPT, you type in suggest 10 video ideas, and you get 10 videos, and you go, okay, write me a script for 10 videos. Now that's really, really basic. And that's the first thing everyone thinks of. So
Right.
there's going to be 10, 50, 100, 1,000 other guitar teachers or piano teachers or whatever you are doing the exact same thing at a basic level. So it's just more of the same. It's clutter. You don't stand out. It's just like everyone releasing the same regurgitated pop song.
Right.
If you use a prompt and you put a little bit more extra effort in there, then you're going to get far further. So if you say, pretend you are an expert in viral YouTube videos. So all of a sudden we're giving ChatGPT some parameters. Suggest me 10 highly engaging ideas for a YouTube video. And then you're going to get 10 really cool ideas. But then you could go further and say, suggest me 10 videos in the style of Mr. Beast, or in the style of, trying to think of famous YouTubers, of Logan Paul or Andrew Tate, or whatever it happens to be, whoever's trending at the moment. Suggest me 10 video ideas in the style of this, and it will personalize it to that. So if you really look up to Mr. Beast, or, you know, if you're a guitar teacher and let's just say there's like Rick Beato is a great guitar channel, Paul Davids, or, you know, whoever is the king of your niche, you make some of those suggestions and it's going to give you videos like that that are more likely to resonate with their audience. But then you go a step further, you know, you can create a script or you can fly off the cuff, but then you go, okay, now suggest me 10 titles for this video. And it's going to give you 10 titles. If you say, suggest 10 clickbait titles, which are going to get people absolutely hooked, it's going to give you 10 even better titles, or again, 10 titles in the style of Mr. Beast. So you start giving it these direct prompts, and all of a sudden it starts to shape up and stand out from the crowd and go from, you know, what's something that's really bland to what is going to be and add a percentage point towards this going viral, or this being much more clickable or interesting or watchable.
Wow. Yeah, this is all very fascinating. And I know, like, the overall subject of these videos is going to be about, for people who are just kind of maybe know that they need to get involved with learning AI and how to utilize it. But it is just incredible already with the amount of opportunities that are out there. And I can definitely see this, you know, changing all aspects of teaching, and then also, you know, business. So thank you so much for just like taking the time to kind of go through how you use it, and, you know, how it's how in the future it's going to change music and teaching as well. So kind of shifting a little bit to talking about SEO. Do you want to kind of talk us through, like, what are some things that you see? First of all, do you want to describe it for the listeners, and then how they can, like, sort of improve their SEO?
Definitely. So for anyone that doesn't know, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically, the number one piece of real estate that you can have in your business isn't your physical location. It is your website. If you could get the most popular corner spot location in your town, it pales in comparison to being the number one place on Google. And my favorite saying when it comes to this is, if you're not first, you're last. So if you're not on the first page of Google, no one is going to scroll to page number two. There's going to be a rare few people who are going to go looking on page number two. By the time you get to 3, 4, 5, like no one ever goes past number 3. If they haven't found you, they're looking for something really, really specific, and it's probably not going to be you. So what you need to do is optimize your website so that Google starts showing you higher up on the search engine search results. So you need to be in the top 3, bare minimum. And there's a number of different things we can do that to get that there. So, and Google literally owns like 97% of the market share. It's always between 95 and 97%. So there are SEO things for other browsers and stuff like that, but we're pretty much talking about Google. And if you can rank well for Google, even though there's other browsers out there, Google is just like, you know, universally accepted, and the other ones will model what they do on Google. But if you have the number one piece of real estate, you want to make it look good. You want to make it look attractive. People want to drive past it and stop and get what they need. Google has a number of different criteria, but the basic one is your website just needs to load really fast. It needs to be relevant. So, you know, if you're your website is about guitar lessons in your area, then anyone in your area that Google's guitar lessons, hopefully you will come up for. So you need to make the website relevant. It needs to look good. It needs to load fast. It needs to provide a good user experience. Because if people use Google and Google sends them to something that gets them what they want or entertains them or provides them with a good outcome, then people go, yes, Google is great. I'm going to keep on using Google. And that means people are going to be exposed to the Google's ads, and it's going to be money for all Google's clients. If you looked up guitar lessons and Google showed you guitar teachers from 50 miles away or in another state or in another country, it wouldn't be helpful. And you'd go, bugger this, stop using Google. I'll use the one that works. So Google is all about, how do I put the best website up front? And there's so many factors that go into it. But the top three, as I've mentioned, is just having a really well-presented website, which has got tons of great content about what you do, and it's going to be relevant to the people in your local area. Now, if you teach online exclusively, it's much harder because you're competing against everyone in the entire world. And big companies like ultimateguitar.com, Musician, Guitar Tricks, Fender, these companies are your competitors, and they have multi-million-dollar budgets to hire marketing teams and experts. That's really hard on an online level, but if you're running an offline music school, it's guerrilla tactics, which you can move fast, you can learn faster. Whatever takes a marketing team 6 months to research, you can get off the most latest trending YouTube video or from someone like me or yourself and have them explain that to you. So you have to have a great website. You now need to pair it up with a Google business profile. So you have to have a Google business profile. You have to have a maps listing, a ton of really great things. And what used to happen is these things called link farms. So a link farm was basically the more backlinks that link to a website, the higher the score. And the higher the score, the more likely it was that you would come up. Now, this was really good because you could just pay for a bunch of links or network with a bunch of people to link to each other and basically get to the top of Google really quickly. But as soon as marketers realized this, they basically started saying, hey, I'm going to make a website, and if you pay me $2 or $10 or $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, we'll get you to page number one. So these websites known as link farms would pop up, and as soon as Google realized what was happening, they basically shut that down. So they introduced a ranking system. So let's just say my website is number one. If I am number one, I probably have a high rating. So if my score is 40 out of 100 or whatever, because I'm still a little guy, I'm not a Fender or an Ultimate Guitar or one of these big websites that gets 1 million viewers a day. But if I'm a number 40 and I link to another guitar teacher website that's just starting out, then their score is going to jump up a bit more. And if in my 6-figure guitar teacher program, everyone within that program links to each other through an article, and this is where we do guest blogging, we build our topical authority. So I am seen by Google as an expert because I have over 100 blog posts on guitar playing and guitar teaching. So that's caused my website ranking to boost up, and it gives me topical authority. If I post a guest article on someone else's website, that increases my topical authority, but it also provides me with a link back to my website. So it might give me a 1-point boost. It might give me a 0.20 boost, but it keeps on going up. So eventually, when I get a score that's higher than every other person in my area that has a website, my website will go up to number one, and I'll get this boosting. And then if I start linking to other people, so too will their websites boost up as well, because now they've got this authority figure posting. So if you are on Google, you have a good website, you're still not quite number one, you need to start posting articles to build your topical authority. That way, if Google sees someone clicks on an article about, I've got a really good one on how to cure RSI and arm-based injuries, because I went through surgeries and a few injuries myself. So if you Google how to cure RSI, or how to overcome guitar injuries, or how to play guitar without pain, this article or these even 2 articles that I've written come up. So all these guys will spend half an hour reading this article and then 10 minutes watching the YouTube video I've embedded. Google sees that the average person who clicks on that link spends 20 minutes on it, as opposed to the average person, the second best one, they spend 5 minutes. So it starts promoting my thing. And Google
Yeah.
likes that, so it gives me a higher score. So you need to start writing all these articles and then using them to boost your expert authority, but then also start doing guest posts on other guitar teachers or music teachers or other blogs, so that it links back to you and it boosts both people's accounts. And what we provide in my six-figure program is a network of other guitar teachers all trying to do the same thing. So all of a sudden you've got access to all these blogs, you've got access to all these websites, which are helping each other out and boosting everyone's topical authority.
Wow. Yeah, that is, I never had used the articles like to improve my SEO. That is genius. So thank you so much for sharing that.
No
Um,
worries at all.
yeah.
So
Wow.
how much time do we have? Because
I mean,
we're
I
right on
don't want
cusp
to
of
keep
something.
you because I know we're going at the hour point at this point. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
well, we'll give them the, here's the big payoff that we'll hope your listeners got tons of value out of what we discussed, but here's where you tie AI and SEO together. So how long does it take to make all these articles? Well, if you're not a very talented writer, it can take a long time, just to get one article done. If you happen to be a really good writer, it's still going to be time consuming. Like I can knock out an article of about 2,000 words in an hour. I've always been a great writer and had the ability to write fast, think fast, create persuasive writing throughout high school and be very academic in that approach. So I can amplify that using artificial intelligence once again.
yeah.
So if I just say, hey, ChatGPT, write me an article about how to learn scales quickly, everyone who asks that question gets a same or a very similar article. And if you
Right.
put that on Google,
Yeah.
Google can detect that an artificial intelligence has written that.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is really, so you might build up this topical authority, or you might post 10 blogs, but you don't really have all this or any topical authority because Google knows it's not you. It can detect it. Now, sometimes it will penalize your website. It will go, all right, this guy's just straight up using AI to write this.
Right.
And it's
I imagine
very
it's happening
generic.
a lot right now.
Yeah. And you can imagine the
Yeah.
trend is, maybe for the first couple of months, you could get away with it. But now Google's going, all right, there's good AI content and there's bad AI content and there's generic stuff. So you don't stand out, so you don't score any points for it.
Yeah.
But if you take your article and say, please write me an article about how to learn scales quickly, pretend you're an expert copywriter, write in the style of this person, use a friendly, informative tone, expand upon these points. So you can create a summary of how you would write it. Please include this, this, and this. Then it's going to write it far more uniquely than if ChatGPT just generated it from scratch. So maybe instead of being 100% AI generated article, what you get now is something which comes up as a 60 to 80% AI generated article, or the content is somewhat different. Now, here's the big payoff. What I did with AI, with ChatGPT, is train it to be me. And this is scary because you don't even know if you're talking to me right now or you're talking to an AI. I could literally make an AI that just does all my podcasts for me because I train it to respond how I would respond. And I'm pretty sure this is where things are going. But what I do is I copied 3 of my articles. I put it into ChatGPT and I gave it the prompt, analyze this article for the vocal tone, the word and the language patterns, the speaking patterns, analyze this article. And I did that with 3 articles. And I said, save this writing profile as user guitar teacher Michael. Then what I said is write me an article about learning guitar using user profile Michael Gumley. And it spit out an article and you cannot tell that wasn't me. I'm reading it in my own head voice. You know how you read like articles and you hear it in different people's voices? I'm like, I wrote this, but I didn't write this. ChatGPT analyzed my writing profile.
Yeah.
And then spat something out exact. And that was with 3 articles. Yeah, there's a few things I need to touch up every now and then. But if I just keep feeding it things that I've written, eventually it will know it's just like training a person to take phone calls and respond a certain way with the information that they have. We're just training the AI to be able to do that. So now this AI is writing articles for me, which I don't just do it from scratch. I still create an outline. So my writing process is, I still like to think about all my ideas myself. I would still every now and then run a, please suggest, 50 cool article ideas or whatever, but I prefer to do the research of what questions people are asking. And I'm sure if I go to www, there's an AI for that, there will be an AI that scrapes the internet for the most common Google search terms about whatever topic you have. If not, someone please make that. But
Right.
yeah, you get the question. So here's my SEO booster tip. So do some research on what are the top 100 most commonly asked questions within your area of teaching or whatever it is. And then we're going to write a blog post for that, an article or a video or both. So what I would do is write an article for each of those, or prompt or an outline. So if I'm going to pick my top 10 that I want to churn out over the next month, whatever it happens to be, productivity hack, plan out how many you're going to do per month and allocate some time and get them done. But let's say I'm going to do 10 articles this month. So I will come up with my titles. I will come up with 3 to 5 bullet points, because I do want them to be a certain length. And if you want to find more about SEO, hit me up at Michael Gumley, or check out my the exact specifics and things. But I'll plan out my article, then I'll whack it in a ChatGPT and say, please write me an article in the style of me, and it's going to churn it out. And I'm going to look back and go yes or no, or this is good. And then I'll come back and edit it. But then what I will do is I will post it. After running it through an AI checker, it's going to get 95 to 100% AI, of which Google is going to be happy with. And then I can say now, add in some keywords so that Google is going to rank it as a high searching article. So you can literally give it additional prompts. And this is where, if you're not good at writing articles or you're not good at SEO, you just give ChatGPT the prompt to adjust this so it is matching this criteria.
Right.
Stuff like that. Amazingly powerful. Pretend you're an expert in SEO. You pretend you're me to write the article. Now pretend you're an SEO expert and make a couple of changes so that it ranks when people Google this term and it comes up. So amazing. Then you've got that. So that's super duper powerful. And all of a sudden you can start putting out these articles. Now there's mixed thoughts on this, because what happens is, if you go from posting one article every 6 months to posting 3 per day for 10 days straight, Google knows something's up. But Google, it's weird, because if the content's not good, it will punish you. But if the content's great, it wants more of the great content. So it's 50-50 whether, I would just say, experiment with doing one post a day, or one article per week. Because if you've gone from, you don't necessarily go from 0 to 100. Just if you're watching this and you want to get into blogging, boost your SEO, commit to doing one article per week. And then once you get one per week, see if you can do one per 3 days or something like that, 3 per week. And if you can do that, if SEO is your thing, you might just want to go, for the next month, I'm going to commit to one article a day per 30 days. Or you just go, I'm going to make Saturday, I'm going to have a 3-hour block where I crank out as many articles as I have. And I put them on my website and I just schedule them to post once per day. And that's, all those approaches are gradually refining the process to where, like someone like myself who has so many things to do, I learn it, I figure out how to optimize it, I get good at it. I might spend a month where that is my thing, but by the end of that month, I can do it in an hour or whatever, and have a couple of articles. So I will spend 3 hours in a time block creating a week's worth of output, and then I've got that down. But to get back on track, that is your little plan for using artificial intelligence to boost your SEO and or more consistently get some output up there. Now, if you're a YouTuber rather than a writer, so if you're not a talented writer, ChatGPT is going to do it for you. But remember that Parrot AI that I mentioned before?
Yeah.
So we could do this podcast interview, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that, or maybe not me, but if I was interviewing you, and what I do on my podcast is I upload the video to Parrot AI, and it transcribes it for me. So I get a transcription of the conversation. Then I jump into ChatGPT and I say, please write a summary of the main points discussed in this podcast. And it's going to write a summary. And now say, now write an article about the top 3 to 5 takeaways from this interview. It's going to give me an article about the top 3 to 5 articles for this interview. And now I've got my blog post. So I could create a YouTube video about this topic to go into the article, or I could start with a YouTube video and then have an article to link to it. So it's intertwined, and all of a sudden you've created an awesome number of resources. Whatever your strength is, you've just played to whatever it is. If you're not good at talking or making videos, write articles. If you're not good at writing, but you're good at talking, use the AI to capture the talking and then use it to turn the written thing into a better article. So either way you win. Either way, the artificial intelligence covers your deficits.
Yeah. Michael, this has been a fascinating, incredibly informative interview. Thank you so much for all the wisdom you've shared and your experiences as well. So just really quick before we wrap up, can you just tell us like what's coming for you in the next year ahead?
Yeah,
either with AI or, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, what's coming for me? I've got so many projects, and if anything, and that one final tip for your listeners is everyone's trying to do a side hustle. Everyone's trying to do different things. Just pick one, build it to completion. And once it's making money, once it's at the point where you can automate it or delegate some activities, then start your next project. So that's from someone who, I've got my music school that runs without me, but, still needs some time and attention. I've got my Guitar Ninjas curriculum, which basically what I do is I've written a karate style level up system where people, they complete books, and every time they complete their level 1 guitar book, they get a white guitar strap or a yellow guitar strap. And one day they become black belt level guitar ninjas. So if you teach guitar and you want a curriculum for your guitar school, it's going to save you figuring out what to do. Like, AI can only get you so far. I've already built all the content. Go to www.guitarninjas.com.au. It's really important you have the .au for Australia on the end.
Great.
You can sign up for $100 per month. You get access to all the curriculum in my studio. You can get books which are printed on the back end of Amazon, delivered directly to your studio within 2 days. And that's going to save you 6 years worth of lesson prep and content creation, as well as giving you access to how to teach all these great resources. So my goal, and this is how I think, I think about, if I want to earn $100,000, and the last little bit of wisdom, I mean, it just all flows out in terms of.
Oh no, this is wonderful. This is fascinating. Yeah.
Everything prompts another thought, and I just want to share so many things for your audiences. But if we want to make a certain amount of money, or what is the objective for your business? If you want to have a guitar teaching business or music teaching studio where you only work part-time, but you have the freedom of touring or spending time with your family, all you do is say, okay, well, how much money do I need to make in order to not have to have my full-time job? So for me, 100,000 is easy. That's why it's called the 6-figure guitar teacher. If you want to earn $100,000 teaching music, all you do is divide that really big, massive target by 12 to get your monthly target. So $100,000 divided by 12, and most music teachers don't believe you can make this much money. They go, you can't make that much money teaching. Like, I can, and I do, and I train other people to do it. You get $100,000, you divide it by 12, that's only $8,334 per month. Now, can you earn that much money per month? When you break it down like that, it sounds very simple. So if you charge $50 per lesson, that equates to roughly $200 per month. Every now and then it'll be, $250. So all you do is divide 8,334 by 200, and all of a sudden it's 42. So you only need 42 students per week paying you $50 to be able to earn $100,000 per year. If I told most people you need 42 students paying you $50 to make that amount of money, then now all of a sudden it's doable. So, and to bring that one home for landing, I don't recommend you teach 42 students.
I was going to say that's a lot.
Yeah, that's still a lot of teaching. And the likelihood that every single person out of 42 rocks up every single week and, doesn't fight you about a cancellation fee or things like that, it is basically zero. But with the right business structure, you can leverage yourself through group lessons and only have to teach 10 to 15 hours per week. So that's where the big difference is. I show you how you can teach 10 to 15 hours per week, leverage yourself through groups, charge a premium so that people are paying you $50 per groups, not per private, and still make $100,000 and have plenty of time for touring or content creation or spending time with your family or whatever it happens to be. So you can find out more about that at 6-figure guitar teacher. But my goal is literally can I set up Guitar Ninjas to earn $100,000? So $99 per month. I need 67 members. I've got 22 at the moment, 22 studios around the world teach my Guitar Ninjas program. I want to grow that to 67. My six-figure guitar teacher program, again, it costs a bit more, but I think if you pay me $3,000 and I show you how to set up a business that helps you earn $100,000 every single year, if that works in 1 year, and by the way, I've had 100% success rate for everyone that's done that for 12 months. If you pay 3,000 and you make 100,000 in the first year, then you've got 3,000% return on your investment. You can't get that in the stock market. You can't get that in Bitcoin or anything like that. You pay 3,000, you get 97,000 back. That's crazy. Yeah. 100% money back guarantee if you can't do it in 12 months with my help. So that's the kind of program I do there. My aim is to get 30 people per year to do that. So it's $100,000 for me, nice and easy. And I'm leveraged through coaching and things like that. And my studio, Melbourne Guitar Academy, I want to grow to 7 figures. I think we should be on target to about $750,000. I really want to grow that so I have a 7-figure music school and then can start coaching people how to do that. And of course, I've got the top music membership, which is a bit more of a generic how to teach. But yeah, my goal is just basically, if I can set up all these online revenue streams, then I'm not reliant on my music school. Because if there's one thing I learned during COVID, the government can basically say, you can't do business.
Right.
For something which has a 99%, so a lot of people died and that was unfortunate. But for the vast majority of healthy people, healthy adults, common sense and basic hygiene and basic safety protocols like wearing a mask would have kept you somewhat safe. And then almost everyone who I've spoken to who got sick was like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. Or I can't believe we went through all that for this. And in hindsight, regardless of what people thought at the time, it's turning out that, locking people down for the amount that they did for something that was so mild for the vast majority of the population has had a lot of financial repercussions. And so many music teachers had to stop what they were doing. They couldn't perform live. They couldn't teach music. They were stuck. And I never want to be in that position again. And with the way things are going, not being a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot of things that were said and whispers a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago that are now coming true. And, if they're going to start, locking us down for climate change and things like that, then, you can't be reliant on the government saying what you can and can't do. You have to set up these online revenue streams so that you do have that safety net, so you do have that freedom, and that if you don't like where you are, you can just move somewhere else.
Well, I wish you all the best with your goals, and I have no doubt that you will achieve all of them. And then it's really inspiring to hear, where you want to be and like kind of the steps you're going to take to get there. So good luck with all of that, and I'm sure you'll be doing just great.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate having me on the show. Your listeners can reach out to me at any time, and no, I really appreciate the opportunity. And in closing, the best way to predict your future is to create it. So if you're at home listening to this, and whatever you want, write down your goals, get some direction, and all you got to do is take consistent daily action to get there. Whether that's learning how to play guitar or piano or building a music studio or getting your website to page 1 on Google or replacing yourself with artificial intelligence so that you can sit on a beach in Hawaii sipping margaritas while your avatar does Zoom calls for you. Like, it all starts with making a plan and taking action.
Right. I completely agree with that. Yes. So thank you so much. This was awesome. And I'm sure the viewers will get a ton of value from this interview. Thank you. And thanks to all the listeners for watching today. This has been an episode of Looking Up, a channel to inspire you in your work and in your life. See you next time.
See you later.
Sorry. Yeah, cut, and then I'll edit that out. So but yeah, thank you so much. This was great. Yeah, it's just fascinating to hear